Hey, good day. This is Greg Lewis, the city manager here in Lebanon, New Hampshire. Welcome to Lebanon in Depth. Here we are. I almost feel like fall here in September, and I think things just feel that way now. And we thought it'd be a good time to go through the major projects that we have in our public works operations. Because many of you have experienced it. I myself experienced personally, and then the opportunity to learn about all these fabulous projects that have great importance to our city. There's challenging projects. There's some very significant projects in terms of their impact, their size, and the cost that might be involved. And so we're going to kind of go point by point through our major projects and describe them for you and give you a status update on the project in particular. But before we do that, we'll go around our table here and we'll introduce ourselves. Again, I'm Greg Lewis. I'm city manager of Lebanon. We'll start over there on Mike.
Yeah, Mike Lavalla, Director of Public Works in Lebanon.
We'll go to Bruce.
Bruce Temple, and I'm the new Assistant Director of Public Works here in Lebanon.
And I told Bruce that we put him on the spot because once you have to come on the show the first time. Everybody has been on the first show, and we'll get to Christina. But we'd like to have you to give a little background for the people out there. We want you to get to know Bruce, and we're really so happy that Bruce is here.
Well, thank you very much. I've been on the job, I guess, for all of 5 weeks, and I can honestly say that everybody in the city and at the department have been more than cordial in welcoming myself aboard. Mike has led me around, and Christina is very helpful in the projects that we're going to talk about today. I live down in the Claremont, City of Claremont, where I was the former Director of Public Works down there. And I did that job for about 8 years, and kind of fell into that job after serving on the city council and doing some school board things in Claremont and working for some heavy highway contractors up and down the Connecticut River Valley. So we've been in Claremont for about 25 years, raised our family there, and I'm having a wonderful commute each day into Lebanon to work here.
Very well. Welcome again, Bruce. We're so happy to have you here. Christine, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay. I'm Christina Hall, City Engineer for Lebanon.
That's great. That's great. And we as we go through the projects, and I'll name them off, we're kind of freewheeling and informal here, so we'll say if there's any other comments we should make about these projects, so everybody can feel free to chip in, because we want to engage the community in conversation. That's why we do the walkabouts. Whenever we do a project, we walk about your neighborhood before it gets off the ground, so you can get in early and talk about the project with us and give your important information, because you know these streets and these physical facility areas more than anyone else. You live there, and so that's why we think it's very important. We do community meetings, and that's very important to us. So this is kind of an extension of that via our television here at CATV. Well, without further ado, then we'll start with the projects. The first project that I will bring up is CSO 9, and is my favorite project. And the reason it's my favorite project is because the construction guys are in front of my house. And it's not because I get special treatment, the city manager, to have people in front of your house. No, I'm just on Tinley, and that happens to be one of the streets involved in the CSO 9 project. So first, let's talk about the parameters of the CSO 9 project. What exactly is the CSO 9 project?
The CSO 9 project, it's a separation of the stormwater and the sewer that's combined, and we've separated the pipes, and most of it has actually been separated through the course of this year. It's a full roadway construction project as well. It's not just the separation of the stormwater and the sewer. It's there's replacement of water lines, all new storm lines, sewer lines, a full depth reconstruction of pavement, sidewalks, there's curbing. It's a brand new street when it's all said and done. And they're very lengthy. in the process, and we do get the comments of, why are they digging it up 3 or 4 times, when it's just the way construction works when you are trying to do a full depth reconstruction project, because you actually lay your sewer line, your new sewer line first, and then you have to connect all the people onto it, and then you lay the water line in, and you have to connect everybody to it, and then you come back through, and then you put the storm water in, so you're digging the street up that many times. Then you come back in, and you do your full road depth reconstruction, so you're putting all new gravels in the road, and then you come through with the asphalt, and then you come through and you put in the curbing, and then you come through and you put in the sidewalks. So it's very lengthy. Yeah, it's a beautiful project when it's done, and we're hoping that we don't have to come back onto those streets for more than 20 years, if possible.
Fascinating.
So,
it's a fascinating project. Because
you're living it.
I'm living it, and I think when we who are on the CSO projects are living it, we kind of get the experience of exposing versus just driving through a construction zone. You actually see it go forward, come back, as you were describing. It's quite interesting. How, for others in the panel, how challenging are these type of projects? I mean, what your experiences have been in dealing with these separations? Any thoughts on your part, Bruce, about these type of projects?
Yes, having some construction background, they are actually quite a challenge for the contractor. There's some technical things going on, well beyond what we think of as design and drawings and sort of things. But to actually get out there and coordinate and do the process as was just explained, it is highly technical, and hats off to those men and women that work in rebuilding those streets like that. It's very impressive that Lebanon has bitten the bullet and is actually going from brand new sewer and water and storm drainage and curbing and sidewalks. It's a major 30, 40-year venture. And I think it's fair to say that a lot of communities, particularly in New England, would wish that they could get that program within their own communities.
That would be quite a legacy. Mike, from your perspective, and as we begin our project review in the CSO 9,
Yeah,
or CSO generally.
just following up on Christina and Bruce's comments. This project began in 2000, so by the time we get done, have almost 20 years of effort in the whole city to accomplish this. And one of the challenges for us, and I guess more critically for the contractor, is most of these projects are in very densely developed old neighborhoods. It's just on top of the technical issues that Bruce mentioned. You've just got the daily issues of providing access to people, working in fairly tight constraints on some of the streets where the right-of-way may be fairly narrow. It's a real challenge to pace yourself in that job and to be able to accomplish it with the minimum amount of inconvenience to the residents.
I know that in the neighborhood of CSO 9, there's been a lot of compliments expressed to me about the work of the people on the ground that are working and doing this challenging work, about their attitude, about their being polite, about being respectful, and to going out of the way. Several of them gone out of the way to assist people and making sure they had access to their property, to their driveways, and they've kept that rapport going, and it's been going all summer, and it's quite a deal. Mm-hmm. Now the dimensions of 9, we have an upper and lower segments of 9.
Correct. We have 2 sections. The upper section, your section that you live on, is Tenley and Powers, and why can't I think of the name? Wickham. Wickham. And then there's a lower section that's Maple Street, Orcutt, Pleasant, and Farman.
Yes.
So there's a few streets.
I remember when we began, doing the walkabouts
Mm-hmm.
and walking through those two sections, starting from kind of scratch and walking with people. Some people would walk completely with us along along the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would just come out on the end of their lawn when we came to their house, and they talked to us and described what they felt and what some issues they thought. And I thought that was remarkable. And now we're with the status now, and then we'll move on to another project. The status of CSO9, how would we characterize the status?
Well, they're planning to finish this fall, basically everything except the final asphalt. That's what the schedule's projecting. A few things may move into spring if they don't finish all the walls or something to that effect. But they really are working diligently to try to finish at least a binder for the entire project.
That's great.
So.
Now the next major project we have is the one in the pipe following CSO9, CSO10. And could you describe the general vicinity? It's the same concept.
Same concept.
But we have a different location.
Right. It actually starts. It's just down the street, just a little bit further down. It starts at Bridge Street, at the corner of Bridge Street and Dana, and then it goes up Prospect Street. There's a portion of Highland, and then there's Green Street West. There's Pearl Street and Timothy. There's one more, isn't there? No, I guess that's it. And same concept. And actually, the Bridge Street project that the state is actually doing, we are also having them we're paying for it, but upsizing the stormwater line all the way up through. So because the stormwater from CSO10 actually will be going down, for the most part, down Bridge Street.
Wow.
There's also a section of North Main that's also encompassed in this.
So I noticed there's a connectivity with that downtown West Leb area and North Main area in this particular project. Any comments on this particular project? That anything strikes anyone with regard to challenges or special circumstances that we face?
Well, not challenges, but exciting. I mean, we're actually putting in some permeable pavement on this project, so we're trying to go towards the LID. So that's something new that we're incorporating into the project.
Hasn't been done before by us?
Not by us, no. We did a section on Mount Support with the concrete sidewalk, and now we're trying it on a dead-end street, so it's low volume, to see how it works.
And what's the status of the CSO9 project? I mean, CSO10, excuse me.
Well, it just went out to bid, and we actually have our pre-bid meeting this Monday at the Kilton at 10 a.m. for the contractors or potential contractors. DES will be there because this is part, we did receive a grant on some of this project. It's SRF funded as well. We have a loan through the SRF program. The bids are due on October 7th, so they'll be open on the 7th at DPW.
And
So-
when does construction commence?
Well, it's really dependent on the contractor. We do have deadlines on this one. For our consent decree, we do have to be separated for the storm and the sewer by November 1 of 2015. So the project will have some extension beyond that for like the final paving and such, but the pipes have to be separated by that time. So based upon the contractor's schedule, they may try to do a street this year. But the majority of the work would be next spring.
Great. Any other comments on CSO10?
No, again, we'll have the same challenges we have.
How many
Right.
CSOs do we have altogether in beginning to end? I mean, I know we start the first one and then we go on. Now we're right there on 9, and we're going to start 10.
Yeah, potentially, depending when we get to the out years, we've got some small areas that we may or may not have to do, but it could be you may end up seeing a CSO 13, by the time
Mm-hmm.
we get finished.
So we
13
got a
or
ways to go, but we're getting there, which is
Yeah.
very exciting.
It is exciting.
I think one of the impressive things about this whole operation is the upgrade to the public health with new water, separation of sewer. We always don't talk about what's under the ground. We're always talk about other issues in public safety, but public health is part of a community's public safety program. And we're not firemen, we're not policemen, but we do supply water, and we do take care of drinking water from the time you wake up until you clean the dishes up in the evening. And it's these projects are a big sector of public health in any community. It's
That's a really
important to
nice
point out.
Really nice point. As we're managing water in a variety of different ways, water for
Yes.
different uses, drinking in and for sewer.
Yep.
So it's really quite incredible. Well, we'll leave the CSO area, and the next project we have is one that's come upon us, and we kind of call it's a tunnel project, but it's really a critical core piece of our downtown Lebanon mall area. And so let's describe what the tunnel. Let's describe the situation in the tunnel right now.
Well, what we have, the tunnel which goes under the pedestrian mall and the upper parking lot between the pedestrian mall and Hanover Street, is exhibiting some fairly significant delamination of concrete from the panels that make up the roof of the tunnel. And what's happening, they're losing, by the delamination is caused by the rebar and the tensioning in the panels, which have rusted and are either rusting away or have rusted away. And that is weakening those panels, losing strength. And so we're very concerned about the condition both for the pedestrians which use the tunnel as they go from the Northern Rail Trail across to where the Mascoma Greenway will be going as it moves toward West Lebanon. But also as concerning is the load on the parking lot and that impact on the panels and the integrity of the tunnel. So we've had a study done. They've identified all the issues that they see so far in the tunnel, and what's the recommendation has been is to close off the tunnel and to also close off an area in the parking lot where the tunnel bisects that parking lot. We've got some challenges with that. It is going to create two separate parking lots versus one parking lot. We'll lose some of the connectivity in the parking lot. We'll have pedestrian activity there, but vehicular will be a challenge until and if we end up accomplishing doing some temporary measures to strengthen the tunnel ceiling, the top of the tunnel, before we actually finish and go to a construction project.
Yeah, we kind of opened up the conversation by having a community meeting, which was held over in the Lebanon College. We invited the surrounding businesses and property owners to come and listen to a briefing from the engineers who went in and did the evaluation of the status of the tunnel and its constructs. And I think there's some questions. It's a frustrating thing for people that are experiencing infrastructure that has reached a point of deterioration, where steps need to be taken to make sure, first of all, that life and safety is taken care of and addressed, and then to come up with the approach to moving forward and looking at how and how best and what would be the best community interest from the community with regard to the solutions with regard to the tunnel. Now the tunnel, I think, goes back a ways and was really a product of a choice that was made back in, I understand it to be the 70s?
I think it was mid-60s.
Mid-60s, so it even goes farther back than I was thinking. It goes back a ways, and it was so. I know I always try to see what the rule of thumb on infrastructure is, and I'm interested about your thoughts on the rule of infrastructure. But generally, I've used oftentimes the rule of thumb that you have a life cycle. Most of the time, will be in the 40-50 year range at max. And when it gets at that point, you kind of utilize the value of the particular resource. And it's a matter if in between the time of origin and the time where it starts getting to a condition that it needs to be replaced, whether you take actions to reconstruct portions of it or take other actions to increase the life of that particular infrastructure. I know we consider that on solid waste landfill, and how we can do it or not. Any reactions to this particular situation? I think it certainly is drawing a lot of interest, and I guess I understand people's concerns, and I think the best policy is to be careful and evaluate what it is, and then what might be alternatives, and then make some good choices with community involvement in making choices. Any other thoughts on the tunnel project from either past experiences or anything that might have gone through where it might have similar circumstances in some way or the other? Or is this just unusual?
Well, I don't think you're too far off base with a 50-year or 60-year cycle.
Right.
We can see that all over the state of New Hampshire and Vermont, where a lot of bridges these days are being rebuilt, or portions of the interstate that were built in the early 60s are getting major rehabilitations. And as Mike pointed out earlier, the roof, you wouldn't know it just to walk around on top where the cars park, but if you get down underneath, there is certainly some compromise in the structural integrity of the roof. There's no question about that, and the engineer certainly pointed that out in the most recent report we got from them. So oftentimes the engineering solution and the construction part of it is not the difficult part. It's the difficult part is how you handle the traveling public and the businesses in the area and the people that depend on that area, and how we try not to compromise their day-to-day operations or have the minimum impact on them at least. And so this one's going to be a unique situation to deal with.
It's a real balancing need to balance and listen and involve people in this discussion so that everyone's kind of involved in looking at what maybe be the best solutions and different perspectives. And hopefully we'll bring everybody so it's transparent and we all see what the situation is openly and based on the facts and the data that's being produced by these efforts. Christina?
Well, no, I was just saying I think that what you had said earlier is just right, and agrees with Bruce as well, is the community input, the people that are going to have to be living there, working there, to get their feedback on part of the solution as far as with the traffic maintenance and such, because that's the biggest impact. It's always expensive whenever you have to do basically a new project or a fix of a project or something, but it's at the 50-year mark or close to the 50-year mark, and that's what about bridges 50 to 60 years is about the time frame. So.
Any other thoughts on that, on the tunnel of things? I wanted to emphasize to people that the initial part is not the solution, but rather just to preserve the safety and welfare of those that are exposed to usage of the tunnel. And that's an important thing. It's the first thing you do when you encounter something like that is make sure everyone is kept safe and well in dealing with the infrastructure issue where you need to do it. And there's a balancing there to try to see if we can work situations out to mitigate, eliminate where we can, rubs against people's needs to access and be able to travel. And there's some diminishment of those things when these things happen. but we try to work a balance so we're not overly doing something beyond what's needed, yet we're securing and making sure that it's safe for people. And I think those are important things. I think we're trying to do our balancing with regards to this approach. I think that one of the things we'll be taking on October 15th at 5:30 until 7, we're going to have our capital improvement plan discussion work session, and we'll probably lead with the tunnel. We have many projects, but because the tunnel is kind of late arriving, many people know many of the other projects fairly well, but we probably lead with the tunnel and address the possibilities of how we approach the solution to the tunnel and the long haul about what you do with it. I know I've had an array of offerings saying we simply should shore up the tunnel. We should eliminate the tunnel. We should rebuild the tunnel as it was. We should look at a different pathway through the area, using other modes of access management to achieve the connectivity between the area of the downtown and the Muskoma Greenway. So there's been a lot of interesting, comments, and I think that when we get the necessary analysis done, it'll show alternatives, what they do, and how they might be evaluated, what would be the pros, cons, what would be the cost, benefits, risk involved in the alternatives, and then people can weigh in on the choice making so that we can get a choice that the community will get behind and support. These things where it's a negative thing that happens, but also it can offer serendipity that you can turn these things into a positive situation by giving a chance to look again. This tunnel served well for the 60s. I had it down in the early 70s, but even going back to 60s, that's a long time of service of an infrastructure. And now we want to create something that will serve equally well to the future here, and getting the value out of it. So it's an important choice for the community. It's a challenging choice because we have so many resources going out. So we welcome the input from those in the public who would like to make comments on the tunnel. There's lots of ways of doing that. We welcome any suggestions. We appreciate that. You'll hear more from us, and you'll have more conversations with us about this. So our next project that we have is the Mechanic Street. And that's I travel Mechanic Street every day because I live in West Lebanon and I drive to go to work at City Hall. It's quite a street. That's all I need to say. So what is the Mechanic Street, and what's the status, and where are we going?
The Mechanic Street project, it actually starts at about High Street and goes down to almost to the interstate of I-89 near exit 19 is the overall Mechanic Street project. Right now we're in the study stages. It is a very limited right-of-way through it, and a lot of businesses along that corridor. So it will definitely be a very challenging project. We have had some community walkabouts last fall. I think we went out at least 3 times and walked about. And then we've also engaged in looking at the design plans, or preliminary design plans, I should say, trying to come down and narrow some of those intersections so that we're not studying 10 for every single intersection, 10 different alternatives. So we're trying to narrow it down. So we did have a meeting. I believe it was this last spring. Was that about right? Or something like that. And
last one was the spring.
The spring, okay, where we did that. And so the design engineers have gone back, and they are, after what they've heard, they're massaging the different intersections, and so that we'd be going back to the public again with 3. We always do 3 alternatives, because this is a 80-20 split. It's 80% funded through the federal government, and it's 20% of city funds. So with that, there is a lot of kind of red tape that goes along with it. They call it the LPA process, which is the local public agency process. So there is a whole set of guidelines that we need to follow, and so we are in that step. Come October, we'll probably be gearing up to have another internal meeting before we go back out to the public. So it'll probably be October, November before we actually go back to the public to
It's quite a
show
project.
them. It is. It's a great project.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very expensive project.
Yes.
And it's been, like I said, there's very limited right-of-way and corridor, and we're just trying to listen to everybody's needs, desires for that connectivity from Lebanon to West Lebanon. So.
Well, there's many projects we could cover about, but I think we're going to close our program by going after Slayton Hill and Dulac and bring everyone up to speed on those two projects. Mm-hmm. Mike, would you like to give an overview on Slayton Hill and Dulac?
Yeah. Slayton Hill, Dulac were both damaged from the heavy rains that we had in June and July, but more acutely July 2nd and 3rd of 2013. We're actually very fortunate that we've obtained a significant amount of FEMA money to assist us in the reconstruction of Slayton Hill. That project was bid, was recently awarded, and the contractor is mobilizing now. So they will be completing some work on Slayton Hill this fall. Construction will be going into next year. On Dulac Street, we're finishing up design. We've had quite a bit of interaction with the residents on Dulac. That's a challenging street because of the slopes and the impacts that have to be made in some of the areas to be able to assure that we have a drainage system as robust enough to not show the same results as we did last time. The existing drainage didn't have the capacity. New drainage will, new road through Dulac. Again, that's in design now. We're finishing up that. Construction, we won't see anything in construction until next spring, but next year Dulac will be going into construction also.
Those are really great. I mean, there's so much interaction along Slayton Hill and along Dulac with people getting involved and expressing their opinions. Mm-hmm. I think that as we close, I think we want to indicate there's a lot of care and on the part of the Public Works Department about the jobs we do and the major projects we do, and they're high priority. There's more to be said about some of our other projects, and we can't cover it in one show, and I think we'll come back. We'll talk about 120 Heater Road. We'll talk about the wastewater treatment plant. We'll talk about the things that lay ahead of us, and we'll be back with you, members of the public, again, and talk some more about our different projects in Public Works as we go through. We're going through the CIP program, which starts on the 15th October in the first work session, and then we'll take it up again in November, and then we'll actually adopt it in December. So we have 3 months. I hope you all take advantage of the website. Look at our Public Works Department website, and you'll see a lot of useful information. In closing, any final comments, Mike?
Well, you talked about public participation. It's very exciting and beneficial for us to see the public so engaged in all these projects. It assists us tremendously as we look at the work on the technical side. We want the community's buy-in. As you stated earlier, they live with it. It's something they'll see every day and live with, and we really appreciate all the effort that the public has made to assist us as we bring these projects to fruition.
So those who live in Lebanon here, residents, those who come here, and our valued guests and visitors. We appreciate your time today, and we hope you got a little idea about all this project. Thanks to Bruce Temple for joining us.
Thank you.
And being part of our team. Thanks to Christine for all the good work. We continue to work hard. We always try to do better. We always try to stretch, and we are working on this. And I think we want to do something that you all want us to do, and in the manner in which you want us to do it. So thank you. Have a good day, everyone.